Hey guys, welcome back to Create a Canvas. Are you ready to paint today? I'm Andrea. I'm excited to paint with you. We're going to be painting a peacock today, and I'm inspired because this morning I went outside and there were two peacocks on my in my front yard just eating the plants, and it was so cool that they were right there. And it's kind of rare that you see peacocks, and they're like the most beautiful bird that I can think of. So they're fun to draw. They're very colorful. So we're going to draw it first. I'm going to go step by step, and then I'm going to watercolor it. But you could also turn this activity into a canvas painting if you wanted to do this on canvas. You could do it with acrylic paint. I'm doing mine watercolor. If you don't have any paint, you can always do it in pastels or crayons or markers. Get creative. Peacocks are really fun and colorful, and you can always change the color scheme and make it an abstract peacock. So let's get this going and let's have some fun. So what you're going to need, if you're going to do it on paper, you need a piece of paper, you need a pencil to draw with, and you're going to need a Sharpie to go over. I suggest using a permanent marker, especially since we're going to be using water paint. You don't want your marker to bleed on you, so permanent marker is important. Then I'm going to be using my pack of watercolors. You can use this, you can use acrylic paints, anything that you have will work for this activity. So let's get started. Let me take you down to my screen so you can see me draw. Get your pencil ready. I'm just going to do it, actually I'll do it in pencil first so you guys can see each step. So we're going to start with the head first. So right in the center of our paper, we're going to draw an oval shape. I think I'm going to have to do mine in marker so you can see it. I'm also going to take a triangle from my oval shape and turn it into a beak. I'm going to go ahead and go over that so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to take that up like that. Then I curve down his neck all the way off the bottom of my paper. The neck's kind of a tricky part. Then from the very, very top of his head, I follow the curve of the top of his head, and I come down and follow the shape of the neck I already did. That's like the beginning of his body. Okay, we can put an eye in there. Okay, that's the hardest part that we're going to do. So now we're going to draw a bunch of feathers. So the first thing I want to do is I'm actually going to start from the top of his head and draw a line up. I'm going to fan, almost as if his feathers were fanning out, as peacock feathers do. I'm going to draw the fan lines. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a series. First I'm going to turn these into leaf shapes. I'm going to do two here. Two here. So I'm basically giving their feathers, but they look like leaves. And I'm going up the stalks of each, starting to look a little bit like stained glass, which is the point, because this is it's going to look a little stained glassy when we're done. Pretty. Okay, so I went all the way around, drawing the leaf shapes all along my point. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in between and start filling some space behind with another leaf shape. So in the gaps, I basically draw another leaf and then add one behind it. And we want to fill up our whole space right now. So kind of find the windows. Find it. That was a perfect window example right there. Find the windows, how they, here's one right here that I can have a perfect shape of a leaf for. Okay, so you're drawing all these leaves. Make sure you can see them all. Now what we're going to do, once you have all your leaves done, and if you're not done with this part, you can pause the video and come back. But now what we're going to do in each of our leaves at the very top is we're going to draw a circle. And technically we don't have to do them in all the leaves, but anyone that you can see the very, very top of the feather, we're going to start calling them feathers now because that's what they are. You're going to give yourself a circle at the top of the feather. And actually I'm wearing a peacock feather so you can see what an actual peacock feather looks like. So you see the circle that we're doing right now is this, the turquoise part. And then inside of it there's another circle if you want to get real fancy. It kind of looks like a rounded heart. So we're going to do our circles first. And remember, when we start painting, these circles are what color? Oh, let's see what color. The circles are going to be green, and then the circle inside of it is going to be blue. Our picture is going to be a little bit brighter and more colorful than the actual real peacock feather. We're going to use a few different colors of green and a few different colors of blue. Okay, so circles just add a really great pizzazz to your art piece, so try to get in as many as you can. Okay, so now we have it drawn. If you use pencil to do this whole thing with, which you should have, you should always draw in pencil first. I have a little bit more Sharpie confidence because it's one of my favorite things to do is Sharpie. But if you are ready, you're going to go back all your lines with the permanent black marker before we start. You could always do this at the very, very end also. So if you don't want to do it now and you can see your pencil line through your watercolor, if you're using acrylic paint, I would do it now. But if you're watercoloring, you'll still be able to see your pencil, and then at the very, very end, you can use the Sharpie to clean up any edges or anything. But if you're going to acrylic, do it beforehand. Then you can erase anything that you don't like. You're going to get your watercolor set ready. And the first color that I'm going to start with is a bold blue, because that's the color of the body. So let me get my brush nice and clean. And what I like to do when I'm watercoloring big sections is I come through with some water first, and I get the section. I'm going to do the body first. I'm going to get the whole section with a little bit of water. Also, when you're watercoloring, before you start, you want to, whatever colors you're going to use, you want to take a little bit of clean water and put a few drops into the colors that you're going to be using just to loosen up your paint, get it ready to start painting with. I picked, let's see what's this color. I picked 5 colors I'm going to use. Blues, greens, turquoises, basically. Okay, so I'm going to start with my most cobalt or more ultramarine blue, so it has more of a purpley tint to it. I'm going to come right along my edge. The more water you use, the lighter your paint is going to be, and the less water you use, the brighter it's going to be. So if you want, people have different preferences of how they like their watercolors. If you like them bright and bold, use less water. And you can see the difference in, as I'm putting it down, it's the same color I'm using, but it looks different because of how much water. Good. Alright, now what I'm going to do with that same color of blue is I'm going to go through my circles. Remember we saw that little heart inside of our circles. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on each side of my line, you know how you have a line in between a lot of your circles, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my heart in there. We can't put the green until this is dry, so this is why I'm doing this at the beginning. One of the last things we're going to do is hit these circles with the green once this blue dries. And no, they don't have to be perfect hearts. It's just kind of the illusion of a heart. As long as you get a little bit of blue in each circle. Some of them are too hard or too small to make a heart. As long as you get some of that blue in there, you're good. Alright, now we're going to pick a dark green. And any of the feathers that are hidden behind another feather, we're going to go through. So all these ones back here that are backgrounds. And remember, you can change the value of this color. Value is lightness or darkness of a color just by the amount of water you add. So if you want some to be darker, less water. Some to be lighter, more water. Oops, picked up the wrong color. So right now I'm going through all the feathers that are in the background. There's going to be some gaps that we're going to fill with black later, so don't worry about any gaps that aren't a feather. Alright, after you finish that step, we're going to go on to, if you have another color of blue, and we're going to do the bottoms of our leaves, or feathers, sorry, with this lighter blue. If you're using acrylic paint, it's kind of like a turquoise, which would be blue and green mixed together. It should be a different blue than the blue that you did the body of the peacock. And you see I'm just going around and doing the bottoms of these. And I'm only going to do a few at a time because I want my paint to stay wet, because then I'm going to pick up green and I'm going to come from the top and meet it in the middle. So this is regular green or a Kelly green. I start at the top of the feather and I pull it down into the part I just did. We're going to do this on a lot more of the feathers, but I just want to show you some of them, and then I'll set you free to go paint and stop listening to me. Put on some good tunes, put in your headphones. You can always come back to this. Doing all these feathers can be kind of tedious, so you can always come back on a different day or later in the day when you have a little bit more time. Okay, so I'm going to continue the same thing with these ones right here. I'm going to do blue on the bottom, green on the top, different color blue than we did his body. Okay, then when you're ready, when you've gone all the way through and you've done all of them, I'm going to stop there because I'll keep going on another time, but you're going to continue to do all your feathers, this blue on the bottom, green on the top, fill in all the sections. There will be some gaps, that's okay. Then when you're ready to do inside your circle, make sure the blue is dry with a super limey green. So it's usually the lightest green that's in your palette. You're going to come through and you're going to put this pop of the lime green around your blue hearts. Okay. Then you're going to have a few gaps, like right here I have a couple gaps. What you can do, your final touches, just take some black. I would use a really thin paintbrush so you have a lot of control, and then come in these little teeny gaps and fill them black. Any extra places that you have that need a color, it's going to be black. And just by adding that black in, it's going to make your feathers pop. Okay, so you're going to do that through the whole thing. Any gaps you have, you're going to do with black. Then what you can do if you want to keep adding detail to your art with this skinny brush, you can practice your line work with black. In each feather, you can put some of these kind of vein type things. And these are just additions that you can do just to keep painting, or if you want to add pizzazz to your art. Because remember, the more time you spend on a piece and the more detail you put into it, the better it's going to be, and the happier you're going to be with your artwork, and you're going to feel inspired to do more artwork. Okay, so if you want to do that kind of thing, you can. Make sure we get his eyeball in here. Then for his beak, you can do it like a yellow-orange color. If you don't have a good yellow-orange, just mix yellow and orange on your palette, and you have a beak. So I hope you are inspired by this. It's a really fun painting. Once you're done, you can do this whole thing in a whole different color scheme. So challenge yourself, take your time, and enjoy. Have fun finishing your peacock, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.